In the next video, what I'm about to do, I'm gonna take these birds. These have been aging. I've had these birds hanging almost a week. And ready for this? They haven't been gutted. That's right. Sounds gross, doesn't it? Pheasants, shot a week ago, not gutted, nothing. In the next video, we're gonna talk about why I would do that. Why am I butchering a bird that's a week old that hasn't even been gutted? We're also going to show you a brand new spot on this farm that you have not seen before. A brand new space on the farm, and I'm gonna ask for some input on how to use this space. So make sure to check in tomorrow morning for that video, and I got a lot of work ahead of me, so we're gonna shut this one down. See you in tomorrow's video. And it's tomorrow's video, it's today's video. Time to take these birds that have been aging, and we're gonna take you to our future homestead butcher shop. Or, not shop, because we're not selling anything. Our future homestead butcher room, our butchering spot. And I really want your input, so I'm gonna grab these birds and let's go to the future butcher place. Today we are going to be processing a couple pheasant roosters, and we're gonna be preparing them like a roaster bird, the whole bird, instead of just the breast, which you saw in yesterday's video. So I'm gonna show you the process I go through to prepare a rooster for a nice roast bird presentation. But even more fun, forget the pheasant preparation, I need some advice because there's a really cool space on this property that I have been so excited to use, and this is the first meet of the year to use it with, so I'm gonna give you a tour of this space and I'm gonna ask for some input. I need some help because I don't know what to do. And we're gonna bring Poppy along because she needs to be around me while I'm working and learn good manners while I'm working so I can take her more places. Hi, dude.
I was looking for you.
You gonna join me? Go on, go. I don't even know if that door shuts all the way. This is the apple barn. My father-in-law built this back when they first started really doing some, I don't know when it was in the timeline. My father-in-law used to have an apple orchard here on the farm. And what's the matter with you? My father-in-law used to have an apple orchard on the property here. You stop doing that? My father-in-law used to have an apple orchard on the property here, and he built this for a few different reasons. It's a warm space down in the ground. It has a good ambient temperature for storing things like apples. Never gets too cold, never gets too hot. It also has some of the water system for an irrigation system, which serviced the orchard. And you can also see some lines run for electric fencing, which was on the outside of the orchard. So this was kind of like ground zero for the apple orchard. Well, he pulled out the orchard because the trees never did any good, and they decided to just stop bothering. But this space is an incredible space. Year-round, it's a nice ambient temperature. There's running water, there's floor drains, good lighting. I have processed a lot of deer in this space. All those previous years, I was just here on vacation, so I didn't do anything but tie a couple ropes to hang a deer with. But now that we live here, I would like to turn this space into a really nice butcher area and storage area. So I need some advice. As you see me working in here today, what would you do with this space? How would you lay it out? What would you make sure to put in here? Great butcher space, good storage space. We can control the temperature really well in here. So give us some ideas in the comments below. I'd love to hear them because this is a blank slate. We could have an amazing processing room in here to use year-round and also be able to store some produce or whatever else, hang some stuff. So, but anyway, let's actually use it today. I gotta process some pheasants here. All right, bud. Can you help me with these?
Here.
The first thing to prepare our rooster for a nice roaster presentation. First thing I'm gonna do, same thing we would do with a chicken back home. I'm gonna hang it by its one single foot. You don't wanna hang the 2 feet together because that gets too hard to work with. I'm gonna hang it up. I hang the bird. That way I have 2 hands free to do the plucking. Plucking takes a long time, especially if you're trying to go careful and not rip any of the skin. And I want to make sure that that does a really nice good hold. And then I'm just going to hang it on the wall like this, and that way it doesn't swing all over the place. We can work against the wall space. So I'm going to tie one up for me, and I didn't know my son was going to join me, so I'll tie one up for him too. We can both work. So I'll put mine here, and I'm going to put it at a comfortable height. I'm not going to put it down low, so I have to hunch over. I'm not going to put it too high so that I'm straining myself. I'm going to put it right about there so I can work and I can have it adjustable so that if I want to work on a certain section of the bird, I can. So I'll just tie it off right here for now. That's good. It's solid. There we go. To tie the pheasant, I'm tying it below the spur. So just doing like a simple knot right below the spur, nice and tight. I'm using paracord. I haven't used paracord for this before. We'll see if it holds up, but I think it should do the trick. Okay, so let's get it at a right height for you. So just reach out comfortably. Where would you be working on this bird? Right about there?
Plucking all the feathers.
That feel good right there?
You have to be careful at all.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Oh, yeah, okay, so you don't want to, whoops, you don't want to do that. You don't want to rip the skin. So let me show you, don't rush in too much. So my son just demonstrated on an aged bird why you want to go nice and slow and gently. If you're trying to preserve the skin, not rip it, it's very easy to rip an aged bird. So just put one finger nearby where you're working and hold down and use the other one to pull out the feathers. This is why it's really good to tie your bird because it allows you to use 2 hands. If you're not going to tie the bird, do it on a table or even on your lap while you're sitting in a chair. Both are a good option. Maybe you're wondering, why did I wait a week to process this bird? And to answer that question, I have to tell you the story of a man named John McDonald. I don't know a whole lot of the facts of John's life. When I knew him, he was in his 80s and 90s. He was a much older man. And I didn't take advantage of getting to know him till he was already well into his 90s. And unfortunately, I didn't have much time to really hear his stories like I should have. So here's the vague story of John McDonald that I know. John was from England. He was an avid outdoorsman. He hunted probably all over the world. He hunted a lot in Europe. And then when him and his wife moved to America, the United States, he did some hunting in the United States. John loved hunting upland game, pheasants, birds. He told me this story when he found out I was going to start hunting. I had told him that I was interested in hunting. I didn't grow up hunting. And so John shared some stories with me just to kind of give me an idea what I was getting myself into. And one of the stories he told me, his first bird hunt here in the United States. He went out with another man. We jumped into a pickup truck. And they were driving down the road. They had their shotguns in the truck. This was years and years ago when you could drive around with a shotgun ready to go in the back of the truck and nobody worried. Lots of feathers. How are you doing? John said they pulled up onto a road where they saw a pheasant in the middle of the road. The man next to him jumped out of the truck, grabbed his shotgun, blasted the pheasant. Doing a really good job.
Thanks.
John was horrified. It is very unsportsmanlike to shoot a bird off the ground. A bird like a pheasant is supposed to be flushed. Give it a chance to get away and take your shot as it's flying away. So John was horrified by that. What he told me next, though, horrified him even more. Lots of feathers to be telling a story. John really enjoyed the finer foods of life. He knew what the difference, the flavors. He often talked about how he didn't enjoy eating bananas anymore because the bananas that we have nowadays are picked too soon. You need to get a ripe banana that was allowed to ripen near the tree. The ones we get at the supermarket are, well, they're just not as good as he remembered. And so imagine John's horror when the man he was with jumped back in the truck with the pheasant in his hand that he'd shot off the ground, and he exclaimed, "This is going to be a great lunch." John was horrified. "You can't eat pheasant the same day," he says. "You have to wait. You have to hang it on the side of the barn in the shade and let 7 days pass or more." Traditionally, game birds like this pheasant were hung in a spot where they'd be around 50 degrees and allowed to age. Not gutted, just let there in the open. And what that would do is it would improve the flavor, take care of some of that gaminess, reason why some people don't like wild game. It would add to the flavor, make it taste better. This is what John told me. I had no idea. I'd never eaten a pheasant fresh or aged. But I trusted John. He had a lot of experience in this. He liked the finer foods in life. He was at the point in his life where he didn't want to eat anything because nothing was as good as he remembered. And so I always kind of saved that. I remembered that. I have so many feathers in my mouth right now from plucking and talking. When I started bird hunting, I did not age my birds. I just breasted out the birds, ate the breast. But I remembered John's story. It stuck with me. I didn't want to be that uncultured, guy with the shotgun in the back of the pickup who was eating the pheasant for lunch. I wanted to try it at least John's way. And so last year I did, and you can actually watch a video of the pheasant that we got, we roasted, and we aged. And I didn't do a side-by-side comparison then, which I plan on doing this year. But I do have to say the aged pheasant that we roasted, it, in my opinion, was the best tasting chicken dinner, because it was like a roasted chicken, that I've ever had. Now I know that's not super scientific, right? Put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that bird. Of course it tasted good to me. But it really was super delicious, and I'm not the only one who thinks that aging improves the flavor. I've read a lot online since then. In fact, preparing to age my bird, I did a lot of research to find out, was I going to poison my family? Was I going to make us all sick by not gutting the bird right away? And so I'll put a link below, because I don't know the science behind it. I'm not an expert in this. I'll just put a link below to the articles that I read. You can read them for yourselves and see what you think. The theory is that as long as you keep it to about a week, at about 50 degrees, the scary food poisoning stuff doesn't fester at that temperature. And traditionally this is what has been done for hundreds and hundreds of years. And you're just enjoying the finer things that tradition has brought us. Either way, we'll do a side-by-side comparison this year and let you know if it's actually worth the time and wait, in our opinion. But for the sake of John's memory, a little bit of time I got to know John and hear some of his hunting stories. Every year I try to do at least one aged roaster bird, enjoying the finer foods that are harder to come by these days. Unless, of course, you have your own homestead and you enjoy hunting your own wild game. I'd like to think if John were here today, I could have a roasted bird with him. But of course, only one that I had aged at least a week. How you doing, buddy?
Not very far. That's as far as I got.
You're doing great.
My hand's getting really tired.
How do you do? Let's see. Show me what you're doing.
I've done that part of the bird and the legs.
Do a little bit. Let me see. I want to watch you do it. Those legs are looking real good.
Enjoy this.
You have to be especially careful when you're at the breast. If you don't want to rip your bird, go very easy with these breast feathers, because the breast does rip very easily. Remember, while I like a nice looking roaster bird, they don't roast like a big fat, commercial kitchen or something you raised on your own farm. So don't go crazy with the wings. The wings are gonna dry out, they're not gonna be edible. The legs aren't gonna be that great. And the neck, I cut the neck real low at the base, so don't add more work than you need to. We're gonna clip that, cut that. You're really just trying to get the main body. And it won't look like a roaster bird from the supermarket, but it will taste better. I should wear a mask, all these feathers flying around. This is one of those labor of loves. I would not suggest every pheasant that you get to do this with, but to do 1 or 2 special meals a year, I like doing it. It does take a long time, but it just makes for a special meal. I think life's too short not to have a few special meals every year, right? Every month, maybe. I'm not gonna bother for this wingtip. I'm gonna cut that right now. And to cut it, the best tool you can use, shears, not a knife. For cutting wings, cutting birds, you want a pair of nice, sharp shears. And if you don't have nice, sharp shears, like me, just have a pair of shears. Can you see that, bud?
Sharp scissors, sharp knife.
Get that?
Yeah.
That wing, we're gonna let my bird dog play with that wing. That'll get her interested in birds. What do you think?
Better not.
Oh. Ooh, what do you think? This is actually a good training tool for your bird dogs. Save some wings and you can use them to train your bird dogs to retrieve with them. Poppy seems very interested. Now I'm not gonna just give this to her to eat. This is to play, to retrieve. So I'm not gonna throw it down to her while I'm not paying attention. I'm gonna put it up on a shelf and later we'll do some retrieval with it. Not for you right now, dear Pop. Ultimate tease. Anatomy. Now I'm gonna cut the neck. Again, shears do a great job at this. Don't have to bother with a knife. And again, I'm not giving it to the dog to eat. I don't want her to learn that you eat pheasants. That is a bad idea.
Or possibly stated for something.
Wow.
That is tomato?
I think it is. Look at that. That fell out of the bird's crop. It was something it was eating. Some kind of tomato. No, don't eat that. We're almost done with our roaster bird here. We can cut this leg off. Right at the, you actually don't even hardly need to cut it if you can just break it first and then you just cut them through the skin.
So I'm making the doorknob.
A lot of these tail feathers are going to come out when we cut there and gut this bird, so I don't have to pull all those out either.
No.
Shake your tail feather. So that's pretty much good. The rest you're going to wash away in the sink, but you don't have to go crazy for every last little bit. The last thing you do have to do is gut this bird, which is always hard, a little bird with a big hand like mine, but I got to do it. So I'm going to pull out my knife, I'm going to cut it open and pull all that out. I like to cut on a table. I don't want to be cutting in the air and slip and cut my finger. It's a very sharp knife. This is a really cool knife. I just got this. This is the Outdoor Edge Razor Pro. It has an exchangeable blade. I am awful at sharpening knives. I have tried and I need someone good to teach me, but until then I can replace the blade on that for like $2 and always have a sharp knife on me when I'm deer hunting, when I'm butchering. I'll put a link below for that thing. I'm really excited about this. And it was, it was like $80 for this. It also has a gutting hook and yeah. A regular nice knife is that much money and you have to sharpen it. This thing replaced the blades with the push of a button. Really cool. And eventually I will learn to sharpen a knife. I know I should. Okay. This is a bigger rooster. Put more meat on this guy. As you can see, plucking is incredibly messy. Good to do this outside or in a butcher space like the one we have here. What do you think for this space? It's got a doorway in the middle. You could have like one space be butchering, another space be storage. There is a difference in temperatures, what you kind of want in both of those spaces, so that would be an issue. We could just leave it as one very big processing space and put all kinds of stuff in that one processing space, so be able to do everything from deer, wild game birds, our own chickens, you know, the goat or beef or whatever we would be doing. There is a couple I-beams. I'd love to put some kind of hoist in here so you can lift stuff up that's heavy. Processing a big buck can be really hard, trying to get that thing up and down at the right height. What would you do if you had this space? An unlimited budget. I don't have an unlimited budget, but I want to know all your ideas so that way I can design something. Because I would like to work on this over the winter. This would be a fun Homesteady project to turn this just ready to go space into a really nice butcher facility for a homestead. And would you use it for a butcher facility, or would you use it for something else? Would you just say, you know what, the few animals you got to butcher, do outside on a cool day and use this year round for something else? Now I was told if you have a bird that is shot a lot through the body, those are better off not aging, and you want to go for a bird that's nice and clean. So this one, I might just breast that out.
See if we can find any. The breast. That's a beautiful breast.
That sure is. Look at that.
See any BBs?
Oh yeah, there's babies in there. All right, I see all that.
We're gonna have fun pulling out all those babies. Can't move her wing.
Very soft.
Can't move her free wing.
Okay, that one we're gonna breast. That one, as you saw, we breasted out. We're gonna try one breasted out and one whole roaster.
Age them.
We got our clean bird, our breasted bird. We have a big mess in here. We're gonna take these inside and we'll clean this up once these are chilled and underwater. So let's head inside. So the good news is you've seen how to do a roaster bird, and we have another, like I said, another pheasant video. You can watch that one where we do a successful one. The bad news is I didn't realize that this bird had been hit in the breast before I was preparing it for a roaster bird. That is not appetizing, and that's the primary meat on this thing. So we are not going to be serving it as a roaster bird. We're going to turn it like all the other ones. We're going to cut it, fillet it, and turn it into like a chicken tender. So we're still going to enjoy the meat. It's still nice that it was tenderized, but
grab some Chick-fil-A.
we aren't going to be serving a nice whole roaster, at least not this one. And there goes a BB. So I'm going to finish cutting these and cleaning these, and I'll show you how I'm going to prepare them, how I'm going to cook them. How does this meal turn out? You'll find out later this week when we cook up some amazing pheasant schnitzel. But before we can do that, we need some lard to fry it in. And so in tomorrow's video, we're going to show you a very simple way to render your own pig lard into an amazing cooking oil that's great for frying, making breakfast, baking, really whatever you need a good cooking fat for. It's awesome. Make sure to check in tomorrow morning as we are releasing our videos in the morning now. If you like our show, there's a great way to help us to produce the show without spending any extra money, and that's just doing your Amazon shopping through this handy link right here. Just click on it, it'll take you to Amazon, order whatever you need, and we get a bonus for sending you there, or type in amsteady.com before you shop on Amazon and it will forward you there. Thank you so much.